Hello and welcome to Stillness in Success. I'm your host, Mustafa Nuristani. And today I'm really excited to be bringing you a legendary figure in the TM organization. The TM organization has been in the West for a long time, over 60 years. And today I have scored a really beautiful opportunity with one of the really senior leadership in the organization. So we're going to have a lot of fun and ask all of the things that we want to ask, but we can't because they're so busy all the time. Okay, so with me today is Raja Peter Warburton. Welcome. So now, before I ask you anything, I want just clarification, because when I hear Raja, I think king. Is that what you are?
Well, for Maharishi, it was a title that he gave to administrators that he trained, but specifically administrators who are going to participate or sort of encourage the creation of the Age of Enlightenment. So it's an administrator for an enlightened period. That's what it means. And the actual sounds of the word Raja are good for the speaker and good for the listener. Those two sounds, Raja. So Maharishi was looking at everything on a different level, not on that superficial level. We had Rajas in India when the British Raj was there, and they were the like the rulers. But Maharishi, everything Maharishi did, he took it to the level of enlightenment, and this was creating training enlightened leaders. So he picked his people that he'd worked with most of his life, and he put them through this special training program, and then he gave them the title Raja.
Beautiful. So, of course, everyone knows that I'm a teacher of Transcendental Meditation, and there's a really beautiful teacher training program that people can go on once they've learned the TM technique and, the advanced programs. And the teacher training program is so immersive, and it just feels like you are in a different universe because you are so deep into the knowledge, and the experiences are so profound. What was it like on Raja training? Is it also 5.5 months?
Actually, it turned out to be 4 years.
4 years, okay.
We thought it was going to be 1 month to 2 months, but somehow we never left. And it was, you see, what happened was that in 2003, perhaps this is quite a revelation, but it's worth saying. Maharishi had some issues, and we didn't know how long he was going to live. And he saw that himself. He was very well aware of his own age and condition. And there were some things that happened that year in 2003, where he said there were some people who thought they knew better than he did about how he should run his organization. And then he was thinking, well, this is very precious, the teaching of Transcendental Meditation and Enlightenment. And how are we going to protect it? How is it going to last into the future? And it was then that he decided to start offering, at first he called it an administrator training course. And he said, what I'll do is I'll call together these people who have been working with me for decades. And what I'll do is I'll give them all of my knowledge, not just some of it, but the whole story. And that way, if we train, 12, 3, whatever, it means that all of them have the whole story. So even if a few go off, the rest will stay as a whole on track. So that was where the Raja training started. And when he said, his intention was to pass on all of his knowledge, we thought at the time, well, maybe this means that we're going to have, all the knowledge of his advanced techniques and, all that kind of special thing. But what he started to do was to develop these special courses and charts of total knowledge. And total knowledge means complete enlightenment, of knowing the unmanifest source of everything and knowing the mechanics by which all manifestations emerge from that. So at the core of the first chart was showing how whatever area of society you looked at, whether it was education or healthcare or defense, agriculture, business, economy, government, religion, whatever you looked at, if you went deep into the discipline, you would find the universal at its basis. For example, in education, you can say that education is the science and art of unfolding values that are hidden from view. Everything in education, whether you're learning something specific or general, it's bringing knowledge to you that you didn't have beforehand. So the supreme value of education is to unfold all knowledge so that nothing at all is hidden from view. But where do you find that supreme value of education, that supreme value of unfoldment? Well, you find it in the transcendental field. From modern physics is the unified field of all the laws of nature. That's the field which is the basis of all expressions of natural law. If you know that, you have total knowledge. It's as simple as that. So, and then how do you gain access to that field? Well, you gain it through transcending, through transcendental meditation. So it's a very interesting thing. Every discipline you look at, you can demonstrate the same thing. If you take the field of law, what is law all about? It's the science and art of preventing problems, preventing people violating the laws of nature. What is the ideal of law? The ideal of law is that everyone acts spontaneously in an evolutionary, constructive, friendly, harmonious, creative manner. Where do you find that level of total law? You find it in the self, in the field of the transcendental consciousness, pure being. From that level, because awareness is fully comprehensive, all actions that emerge from there will be constructive for everyone because it's coming from that holistic level of law. So actually, in every field like that, you'll find the being, the unified field, pure consciousness, is the basis of the highest value of that discipline, whether it's law or health or agriculture, education. So this is the knowledge that Maharishi wanted to teach his chief administrators, that they would then bring to all areas of society and establish a level of fulfillment for everyone. And this is the way his legacy would be perpetuated.
And how have you been doing with perpetuating his legacy?
Well, in those years, he trained me up to teach these courses on, he called it total knowledge. What is total knowledge? It means, if we know anything in life, it's on the basis of our own consciousness. We may acquire all sorts of information and skills, but it all depends on who we are, actually, this inner value of consciousness. So the total knowledge courses are actually studying the reality of that in terms of modern disciplines, where you find the supreme value of any discipline. But at the same time, it's actually having the experience to know that within yourself. I had the experience when I was growing up. I was fascinated by different religions and cultures of the world. And I used to listen avidly to my teachers when they were explaining different cultures and traditions. And I would always ask them, well, why do the Hindus believe this and Christians believe this and the Muslims believe this and so on. And my head would spin because I was looking for the common basis of discipline. So in fact, that course that Maharishi taught me had started when I was sort of about 10 years old on that course. And then there was one day when the teacher was going through all the religions systematically and their beliefs, and I was questioning every statement that the teacher made. Well, why? What is the truth of that? How do you know it? And my mind was kind of spinning, and I stepped out of the classroom at the end into the quadrangle. The sun was shining, and what I found was that what happened was that I transcended. I had this experience of unboundedness. I was in a school with 1,000 pupils. Suddenly, my awareness expanded beyond the school and the next school, and the whole town. With my awareness became unbounded, and I was sort of transfixed for a long time in the corridor. And then when I came out, I suddenly had the answer to all my questions, because I knew at that point that anything I could, even if somebody had the answer to my questions, unless my consciousness was expanded enough to understand the answer, that I couldn't, it wouldn't register. That actually my own consciousness was the basis of everything that I could ever know or do in life. And so that started me, it completely changed me. I was 12 years old at the time. And then I began to search for every possible means to develop my consciousness.
Now, when you said that you had this experience of transcending, that was just, all pervading, it was just expanding, then you also need to know what the mechanics of that is, because when people have the experience of transcending, it just becomes so natural. It's just, as soon as they transcend, they just go, and it just feels natural. It feels real. It feels like it's always been there, but somehow it's not available to us. So what happens between the age of 10, 12, that we don't have access to this anymore?
Yes, a beautiful question. But what happened for me was that having known that my own consciousness was the basis of all the knowledge that I could gain, I had a feeling that the Eastern traditions would give me some techniques. I won a school prize that year.
Oh, nice.
For doing well in my exams. And
not for transcending, just
not for transcending. Okay. But it was just for regular studies. And so at the book, only a small number of boys won this prize each year, and they could pick as a prize any book. So most of them picked a very big book, like the complete works of William Shakespeare or the Encyclopedia Britannica. There were no computers in those days. But what I picked, because of that experience, was a little book that had just been published called Teach Yourself Yoga.
Oh, nice.
I thought this was going to give me the answer to all my, to how to explore that field of the self. And so we had this assembly, all the boys and all their parents, 1,000 boys and their parents. And the headmaster was called Mr. Henry Clark.
Oh, nice.
And I went up on the stage to get my prize. And he picked this little volume off the table to give to me as my prize. And he held it up in front of the whole audience. He said, "This is a strange choice, Watson." And I was kind of thrilled to get this book, and I threw it in my satchel. I pedaled home as fast as I could, and I tried everything in the book. I was standing on my head in the corner of the sitting room. I was stuffing things up my nose. I was twisting myself into different postures. I was staring at candles. Everything I tried in the book, from cover to cover, and none of them gave me that experience again. So I started on a path of discovery. I went to Buddhist classes. I went to Christian mystic classes. I went to, tried everything. I heard about that Maharishi was in India teaching this. For some reason, I don't know why, but this is nature, I knew that Maharishi had the answer to my search. And I set off hitchhiking to India. I was going to go.
How old were you?
When I started hitchhiking, I was 17.
Oh, wow.
Hitchhiking across the Middle East and Iran and Afghanistan, and then go to North India through the Hindu Kush and ask the people, "Where's Maharishi? I want to find him." I got sick on the way and had to come back. But then the next year, there was a teacher of Transcendental Meditation that Maharishi had trained and came to Cambridge. And when I'd learned Transcendental Meditation, I'd learned to transcend. That very first meditation, I remember it so clearly. I knew that I had the answer for my search of that time. It was 8 years of searching. I knew I'd found the answer instantly, and I came out of my first little meditation and said to my teacher, "Where's Maharishi? I want to go and see him right now. He's got the answer to everything." He said, "Well, Maharishi would want you to finish your studies and
Yes.
then go and see him. So I did that. Then I went to see Maharishi, and then, my very first question to Maharishi, I knew he that was the field that he knew, that inner content of life, which was the basis of everything great that's achieved in the world, is that field of the transcendent. And that he had the technique, he lived on that level, he was on that level, and he could teach it to others through transcendental meditation.
It's so interesting, this experience of transcending that you speak about. When I had, I tried all meditations out there as well. Like you name it, I have done it. And I always felt like this is not right. It just felt unnatural. But that first experience of transcending when I had in that room, it was completely unbounded. And this knowingness that you talk about, that you knew that this is it, I have found it.
Mm-hmm.
That experience of experiencing itself, that this is the search, I've been looking for this self, the authentic self out there, but really it's all within. It's here.
That's right, yes.
And Maharishi calls that the home of all the laws of nature. And what I want to ask you is, everyone is out there thinking about, maybe if I manifest or put my attention on the law of manifestation, I'll manifest this. Or if I put my attention on this law, that I'll get more money, and I'll put my attention on this law and I'll get more success. Wouldn't the fact that we are transcending is just like one stroke and we've got all of the laws covered?
That's right. That's right. That field of consciousness, which is available to every human being, with the development of consciousness, evolves a lot of natural or latent human abilities. They're called siddhis, and this is the advanced aspect of transcendental meditation when people learn the siddhi program. And these siddhis can be developed simply through transcending and the practice of special techniques that Maharishi teaches. Or they can be, it says this in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is the essence of this knowledge, which for centuries had not been understood properly until Maharishi really expounded it from the level of experience, from the level of consciousness. And it says in the Yoga Sutras how you can develop these siddhis by practicing the TM Siddhi program, but also by herbal means, through Ayurvedic herbs and so on. You might be able to develop some latent what are called psychic abilities, but actually are normal, natural human abilities when life functions from that level of being. When I was, Maharishi sent me to India, I trained under his guidance, about 4,000 teachers of transcendental meditation. And one of the people who worked with me was very close to Maharishi and also to his teacher, a man called Devendra, Brahmachari Devendra. And he told me that in his very early days, Maharishi was in Kashmir. And this man came to meet Maharishi, and he said he was a saint, a local Kashmiri saint. And he said to Maharishi, "I'm a profoundly unhappy man. Can you help me, please?" And Maharishi said, "Well, why are you so unhappy?" And he said, "Well, it's because by focusing on it, I've developed the ability to manifest Kashmiri apples in the palm of my hand. And if you've ever been to Kashmir, then apples are just the best.
They are. They really are. Yes.
And so on. And he said, because I can manifest Kashmiri apples, he'd focused on that particular power. The people follow me and they think I've got something to train them in or to teach them. But I haven't got anything to teach them. Will you take on all of my followers and teach them something useful? So this is Maharishi. Maharishi is teaching the basis of all existence and the power of that field. And it's not just the beginning. It's relaxation. You sleep better. Your thinking is clearer. You feel better, more healthy, more vital. And that's been proven, established now in 700 scientific research studies. But it's not just that, it's actually really unfolding total human life, the total power of existence, whereby from that level of being, which is the basis of all existence, of everything in the whole universe, you can achieve anything, you can do anything, you can become anything in life. And that's what Maharishi is offering. That's what this special knowledge that was revived by his master, Gurudev, in the middle of the 20th century, that huge, enormous celestial light within, that power of consciousness. And he learned that from his teacher, and then he took it around the world, and then he was asked, well, how are you really going to perpetuate this? How are you going to reach the whole world? He was asked early on must have been in the 1960s, a conference in Sequoia National Park in California by a group of engineers, how are you going to reach the whole world? And he said, well, I'll replicate myself.
Mm.
And then he began to train teachers of Transcendental Meditation. But those teachers, they teach not in their own name,
Yes.
They teach in the name of the tradition of great teachers from which this comes. So there is a source of the knowledge. The knowledge is universal, but there is a tradition for teaching it in the world and making it available. And it's the knowledge of peace, of love,
Beautiful.
Of harmony, of unity. Look at anything good that's happening in the world, of resolution of conflict between nations. The proper management of a nation, it always depends on harmony.
Yes.
People, wherever there's division, it fails. Wherever there's conflict. So harmony is the most important thing. And where does that come from? That comes from contacting the field, which connects us all together.
Beautiful.
From there, we'll have real harmony in the world.
Beautiful. Raja Peter, it's been such a joy to be with you. I wish we had another 4 hours so we could talk more. You're such a great speaker and such an enlightened soul. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. And thank you for tuning in. I look forward to your company next week. Have a great week and talk soon.